debugging is one of those things where even if you don't want to do it, you're going to do it.
Right.
So I'm wondering, like, how do you frame debugging as a fun thing for people who are kind of hesitant about it or are afraid of it?
That's a really good question. It's interesting. We had a conversation with one of the math instructors. So I work very closely with a colleague, Mark Toney. And so we are together teaching computer science at Sheridan College. And we had this chance hallway conversation with one of the math teachers the other day, and she was talking about a student and saying, oh well, he'll take cosine 1010 in the spring, and then he can take this other class in the fall. And we were saying, well, yeah, but he's got to get through cosine 1010 before he can, count on taking this other class. And she said, oh, well, he's in Calc 2. I mean, he's smart. He can do anything. And we both had this reaction, like, hit the pause button. Why is that statement wrong? Why is that assumption that somebody who's smart is also going to be good at coding? And I finally came up with the fact. I was thinking about a student I have who is in exactly that same situation. He's in Calc 2 as a freshman at college. He's super smart. The difference is he wants to be right. He always wants to know the right answer and do things the right way, and he gets really frustrated when things don't work. And one of the chief aspects of enjoying coding is that you have to enjoy solving mysteries, and you have to take some sort of weird pleasure in figuring out why you were wrong. What programmers say to each other all the time is they sit up from their keyboard and they look around the room, and with this huge smile on their face, they go, oh, I'm an idiot. And the thing is, you have to just get this kind of weird pleasure from going, that looked like it was going to work, and here's why it was just so wrong.
Right.
That's the personality trait. That's the sort of mindset you're trying to cultivate. And I don't think I have the perfect answer for that yet. In class, when I'm with my high school students, I model this behavior because when I can't figure out their problem right away, I just express to them how cool that is and what a great deal this is that they have something that I can't just look at and figure out, like, okay, now let's have some fun. In my online classes, that's harder. But one of the things I try to do is, using Zoom and screen share recording, I will work through a problem, and sometimes I know what I'm going to do, and I'm doing a relatively scripted task, and sometimes I just take my heart in my hands and say, I'm going to start coding this, and you get to see all the things I do wrong. Now, in either case, even if I think I know what I'm going to do, I will type things wrong, I'll make bugs, I'll hit some problem that they hit. And then, there'll be this pause, and I'll go, oh, I wonder what's wrong with that, and try to model that joy in the debugging part of the process.
Yeah.
But I do think it's a mindset that people have to cultivate, and I haven't figured out the ideal way to communicate that online.
Yeah, online adds some tricky aspects to it. Like, you could certainly talk about, like, Carol Dweck's, like, fixed versus growth mindset and whatnot, but online settings present interesting challenges. I too love to model my own debugging practices and, like, bugs that I was trying to solve. So I saw kids 4 to 5 days a week. And every Thursday, if I remember correctly, was debugging, where at the start of it, I'd share, here's a big bug I was working on this past week, and here's how I solved it, or here's how I'm attempting to solve it.
Right.
And I would have kids like go through some debugging challenges on their own before resuming the projects.
And formally, in a formal sense, one of the techniques that I've picked up from algebra instruction is the concept of the worked example. So where it's not just an example, that is, you don't just show people 3 problems and then ask them to solve it. A worked example involves some sort of interaction. So you've got some code in my case, and then people have to, for example, enhance it or explain it. So my students work with a lot of code that is nearly complete or complete, but then they have to change it. But then also I give them worked wrong examples, which is also a concept from algebra instruction.
Yep.
And so not every week, but probably half of the weeks in any of my coding courses, as opposed to my web authoring course, my students will have code that's broken, and their job is to fix it. It's really fun because like I have a smiley face exercise where I have the code wrong in all these little tiny ways. There's like one line you have to fix, but it's a smiley face with one eye instead of two, or his smile is upside down. And students just really love that. They don't love the one where I can break a while statement. It only has 4 or 5 lines. I can break it in 6 different ways without even trying. and they have to figure it out. And one of the things I realized is I have to make them not only fix it, but tell me what was wrong with it.
Yeah.
Not only for their reflection, but also it would be easy to just copy the same code back in because the loops are all the same. But that focus and emphasis on, hey, code's broken all the time, so let's just work on our skills for fixing it. That is something I try to work formally into my classes.
Yeah, and I think new CS educators can kind of learn alongside kids when it comes to bugs they haven't come across or immediately be able to fix, and like guide through some questions, and then once it's solved, asking that, can you explain to me how this now works? What do you think was going on before? What do you think is different and whatnot? And then both people are learning. The
initiative we have where we put CS professionals in classrooms, which kind of parallels the Microsoft Teals thing. We invented it in parallel probably about the same time. So I go to a school district, one classroom 2 days a week. I go to Sheridan High 2 days a week. And then my colleague Mark Toney goes down to Buffalo for one block period a week. And the thing that I think that we add most is that it's so easy for teachers who are using one of the online curricula, which are great. Those curricula are just wonderful. But I see teachers resorting to, let's look at the posted solution and compare your lines to those lines. And what we model and what we try to get the teachers more skilled in is the ability to not look at the posted solution, but to look at the student's code and figure out what's going wrong and some way to fix it, which may or may not end up looking like the posted code solution.
Yeah, and I really appreciate when they post like, here are several options of how you can solve this particular bug, as opposed to here's the one way to do it.
Yeah. But that's laborious to sort through.
Yeah.
And one thing teachers never have is enough time. So.
Yeah.
This excerpt of the CSK8 podcast is from episode 31, which is titled Integration Through Data Analysis and Implications of CS as a Skill with Anne Gunn. You can listen to the full episode as well as hundreds more by simply searching for the CSK8 podcast on your favorite podcast app or by going to jaredoleary.com.